Hello and welcome to Never a Truer Word, where we look at the words that people choose to use to see if they're telling the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. And we're back with the Sebastian Rogers case for this episode. Sebastian went missing a few months ago at the time of recording. There's been no information about him. He certainly is still missing at the time of recording. It's a really, really sad story. Sebastian was 15 at the point that he went missing. We're going to look at Seth Rogers today. Seth is Sebastian's natural dad. Seth and Sebastian's mum have split up, so he was spending his time between his two parents. I did this story before and I looked at Seth's mum, Katie, and stepdad, Chris. You can find a link to that in the show description if you want to take in that. And I found some interesting things in the words of Chris and Katie. I thought that something happened that night. That's the Sunday night before Sebastian was announced missing. I thought something happened that night. Something happened, and whatever happened, it caused Sebastian to leave because they kept talking about that Sunday night, even though they weren't asked about that Sunday night. I thought whatever it was, some incident or fallout or something like that was related to Sebastian's behaviour. I wondered if the wider family were involved in some way, and I didn't see signs of guilty knowledge. That is, I felt they were hiding something from us. I felt they were concealing things, especially about that Sunday night and their real feelings about Sebastian's behaviour. But I didn't see signs that, well, they were hiding a deep, dark secret, shall we say. I didn't see those signs in Chris and Katie. We're going to look at Seth. A lot of people asked on the back of Chris and Katie to have a look at some statements from Seth. So we're going to do that. Let's judge him through the same lens. So this is what I asked you to watch out for when we were looking at Chris and Katie's words. Repeated words and ideas. So this quite often reveals our true thoughts, reveals what's high up in our brains and our thinking systems. They come out in repeated words and ideas. Look at the tenses that are used. Quite often, if someone knows that someone who is missing isn't coming back, they will refer to that person in the past tense rather than the present tense. And look for hidden truths, things that come out when we talk that are revealed in the way that we speak. So let's judge Seth the same way as we looked at Chris and Katie. And we're going to watch an interview that he did with Nancy Grace. Now, this interview took place about 3 weeks after Sebastian was reported missing. So here's the first question and answer that we're going to look at.
Could you recount for us when you learned Sebastian is missing? I know it just seems completely surreal.
There's no words for it. I mean, when I found out that he was gone, I was just like, I headed over to Katie's house, see what was going on, and he's not here. I don't know where he's at. I've been looking for him every day. It's just...
So the question Nancy asked was, could you recount for us when you learned Sebastian is missing? I know it just seems completely surreal. And Seth's answer is, oh yeah, there's no words for it. I mean, when I found out that he was gone, I was just like, I headed over to Katie's house, see what was going on. And he's not here. I don't know where he's at. I've been looking for him every day. It's just, and it trails off. My first thought here was, did he answer the question he was asked? He's asked, can you recount for us when you learned Sebastian is missing? And he says there's no words for it. I think that talks to the second part of Nancy's question, which was, I know it seems completely surreal. And he deals with that by putting what completely surreal is into his words, which is, there's no words for it. That, to me, is dealing with completely surreal. There's no words for it. He's asked, can you recount for us when you learned Sebastian is missing? So actually the question really points to when Seth learned Sebastian is missing. And he doesn't say when in terms of giving us a day, a date, or a time, but he's recounting when. And he says, when I found out that he was gone, I was just like, I headed over to Katie's house. So he tells us exactly what he did at that moment when that happened. I'm interested here when he says, I went to Katie's house, see what was going on, which is kind of in the past but in the present. He wanted to see what was going on at Katie's house, not what had happened, but what was going on. He really was dealing with that in the moment, almost like the message that he got just didn't register or make sense to him. So he had to go over to Katie's house to see what was occurring at that moment, not what's happened in the past, but what was happening at the moment he got there. And does he answer the question? Well, I think he does, because that very first part of the answer, there's no words for it. I mean, when I found out that he was gone, I was like, I headed over to Katie's house, see what was going on, and he's not here. So he does answer the question. The rest is extra. And when someone goes extra and says more than what is asked for in a question, there's a reason for it. It's something they want to get across. Quite often with people who are on the defensive or people who are lying, that extra is a pre-prepared story, something they really want us to know, something they're comfortable talking about because they've thought about it beforehand. Here, Seth's extra is, I don't know where he's at. I've been looking for him every day. It's just, and it trails off. So why has he added that extra? Well, could be that it's true. I don't, and really important to him. I don't know where he's at. I've been looking for him every day. It could be important for him to get across to everyone how he has been looking for Sebastian every single day. So he's gone extra, but it doesn't seem to be storytelling. It doesn't seem to be alibi building or anything like that. It seems to be a high priority in his head, which is he doesn't know where his son is. Here's some more from the same interview.
Seth, what have you been doing to find Sebastian?
Been handing out flyers every day. I've been on some podcasts. I've done some face-to-face interviews on the news. I'm just anything I can. I've been to the south side of Nashville. I've been to Franklin. I've been to Bellevue. I've been through Henderson. I've been through Gallatin. I've been through Clarksville. I've been through Oak Grove, Kentucky. I mean, I'm handing out flyers, finding out. I mean, I want everybody to see my son and know that he's missing, and that if you see him, call 911. I need my son back.
The first thing I noticed, and it's the very first word of his answer, is he drops the pronoun I, which sometimes talks to us about a lack of commitment to the answer. He doesn't say I've been handing out flyers every day. He just says been handing out flyers every day, which makes me think, ooh, is there a lack of commitment there? Is that really what he's been doing because he hasn't had the pronoun I at the beginning of it? But then he talks about I all the way through. I've been on podcasts. I've done some face-to-face interviews. I'm just anything I can. I've been to places. I've been through. So he talks about I a lot there. So I think there is a lot of personal detail in that answer. The full answer was, been handing out flyers every day. I've been on some podcasts. I've done some face-to-face interviews on the news. I'm just anything I can. I've been to the south side of Nashville. I've been to Franklin. I've been to Bellevue. I've been through Henderson. I've been through Gatlin. I've been through Clarksville. I've been through Oak Grove, Kentucky. I mean, I've handed out flyers, finding out, I want everybody to see my son and know that he's missing. And then if you see him, call 911. I need my son back. What I noticed there is a lot of detail on where he's been. He name checks a whole load of places in that answer. Less detail on what he's been doing to find Sebastian. How he refers to the places is very interesting. I've been to the south side of Nashville. I've been to Franklin. I've been to Bellevue. So he talks about these places as places he's been to. And then he says, I've been through Henderson, I've been through Gallatin, I've been through Clarksville, I've been through Oak Grove, Kentucky. I wonder what the difference is in his mind about going to somewhere and going through somewhere in strict dictionary definitions. He's actually been to those places, stopped there and taken them in, whereas the places he's been through, you could have just driven on the highway all the way through them and you could say you've been through them, but potentially going through somewhere actually means you've been more rigorous, you've gone through it and done a lot more there than just the places you've been to. I don't have an answer. I don't think it's suspicious, but there's an interesting differential there between some of those places that he's been to and some of those places that he's been through. He's asked, what are you doing to find Sebastian? I said he's very detailed on where he's been, less detailed, although not no detail, but just less detailed on what he's been doing. And I think it's very clear what he's been doing is raising awareness, handing out these flyers, going on podcasts, doing interviews on the news. He's not been searching, as in out in places where Sebastian may be looking to see if he can find them. And that is not suspicious at all. In fact, the father of a missing boy probably is more useful raising awareness, going on these podcasts, going on the news where they've been invited to, rather than doing something that anyone else could have done, which is the physical searching process. He says, I've handed out flyers, finding out, and he stops that thought and then says, I want everyone that stops that thought. To see my son and know that he's missing. And I wonder what that finding out part of that is. I've handed out flyers. Finding out, I mean, I want everybody that... I wonder what he's been finding out. Whatever he's been finding out, he doesn't want to tell us because he stops talking about it and starts talking about something else. And that something else is, I want people to see my son and know that he's missing. And if you see him, call 911. So he's well happy for the authorities to be involved here. He's not asking for people to come directly to him, put a note on Facebook and say, I think I've seen him or anything like that. He's asking them to call 911. No fear of the authorities there in Seth's word. And does he answer the question, what have you been doing to find Sebastian? The vast majority of that answer states what he's been doing. The activities he's been doing, the handing out flyers, being on podcasts, interviews on the news, the places he's been, Nashville, Bellevue, Franklin, Henderson, Gallatin, Clarksville, Oak Grove, Kentucky, and handing out flyers he mentions again. So he deals, a lot of that answer deals with the question that he's been asked. He's not jumped into a story that he wants to tell, but he's listened to the question and his answer matches the question, apart from one little extra bit at the end, which is, if you see him, call 911. I need my son back. So this is the second question we've looked at from Seth, or the second answer we've looked at from Seth, and he's gone extra, and his extra is the same thing. I need my son back, and if you see him, call 911. Here's the process that will get my son back. Here's some more from Seth talking to Nancy Grace.
Tell me your understanding of what happened.
Katie told me that when she woke up Monday morning, that he wasn't in his room and she can't find him. And I heard that once I got there. When I got off of work, I had a text message from the stepfather, Chris, and a missed phone call, and I called him. And he told me that Sebastian was missing and he didn't know what had happened.
So he's asked, tell me your understanding of what happened. So tell me your understanding of what happened. And he starts with, Katie told me. So this is letting us know that his understanding, the word that he has had to take as to what has happened, isn't his personal understanding. It's what Katie told me. And later on, he says that Chris has told him that Sebastian was missing. So his knowledge, what he's saying in his words, his knowledge and his understanding of what has happened is third hand. Katie has told him something and Chris has told him something. And I think this may be significant. He doesn't have his own point of view as to what happened, or he's not expressing his own point of view as to what happened. He is passing on what other people have told him. Bit of interesting present tense. Katie woke up on Monday morning. He wasn't, past tense, in his room, and she can't find him. She can't find him. Not past tense, she couldn't find him, but she can't find him. However, the rest of that is all as we would expect for past events in past tense. Katie told me he wasn't in his room. I heard that once I got there. When I got off work, I had a text message and I called him and he told me Sebastian was missing and he didn't know what had happened. So there's one bit of, I've said pay attention to the tenses, there's one little bit of present tense in there, but the rest really reliably in the past tense. He's asked, tell me your understanding of what happened. Does he answer the question? He tells us his understanding of what happened, and he told us where this understanding comes from. And note that his story starts at the same time as he said previously, when he found out that Sebastian was missing, is the Monday morning. And he tells us once more the story for him starts at the same time. This can be quite significant quite often, and we saw it with Chris and Katie. When you're asked, tell us what happened, where someone starts the story is very interesting. So I'm paraphrasing slightly here, but Chris and Katie were asked what happened. And instead of starting the story on Monday, I woke up and Sebastian wasn't there. They started telling a story about the Sunday. Sunday was a great day. They had lots of fun. And then they came home and Sebastian went to bed. And then the next morning he was missing. And I asked, why did they start the story way, way back? Why does the story not start when they think Sebastian, in their words, when they found Sebastian was missing? Here, Seth, reliable. His story starts at the same time, and that's the communication from Chris to say that Sebastian is missing. He does answer the question, but he doesn't know what happened. He doesn't say, I don't know what happened. He does say that Chris told him he doesn't know what happened. He really doesn't know for sure, for certain, what happened in his answer there. Nancy continues with another question.
So, Seth, what time did you get to the home that day?
I got the message at about 7:20. I was there at about 8 o'clock.
So, immediately. When you got to the home, tell me about the state of the home.
The home was clean. I mean, it looked like it normally did when I walked in.
So, were there any signs of forced entry at the front or back door or on Sebastian's window that you could observe?
No, there was none.
Was anything
Back
stolen
door
from the
was
home?
Not that I was informed of.
I talk about extra in answers so much. When someone says more than they were asked and goes into more detail than they were asked or touches on topics that they weren't asked about, it can be extremely revealing as to what that person's game is when they're talking. And if you look at the first couple of questions there, the replies are so straightforward. What time did you get to the home that day? I got the message at about 7:20. I was there about 8 o'clock. Now, I know he wasn't asked what time he got the message, but this is his way of working it out. If I got the message at 7:20 and it takes me roughly 35, 40 minutes, it would be about 8 o'clock by the time I got there. Very straightforward answer. When you got to the home, tell me about the state of the home. The home was clean. I mean, it looked like it normally did when I walked in. So there's no agenda in Seth's answers here. There's no attempt to persuade us of something or to bring in new topics that he wasn't asked about. He's just listening to the questions Nancy asks and giving her the information that she requires and nothing extra. That continues. Were there any signs of forced entry at the front or the back door or on Sebastian's window that you could observe? This is a perfect answer. It's a yes-no question. Were there any signs of forced entry? Yes, there were. No, there weren't. He says, no, there was none. And then this is the most interesting part of that section. Was anything stolen from the home? And he says, not that I was informed of. Once more, he's not answering for certainty. He's saying, not that I was informed of. And I think this may be indicative that he doesn't trust the words of Kate and Chris. I'm not saying something was stolen from the home. I'm not saying they're lying about what was anything being stolen from the home. I just think that he is taking what they're saying around all of this with a pinch of salt, and he doesn't want to stand up and say he believes what they told him, say for a fact things that he's heard from them, because he's not entirely sure that he's hearing the truth from Katie and Chris.
I'm trying to understand. That morning, your wife calls you, your ex calls you about 7:20 a.m. Would that have been
No.
on a school day?
No, it was her husband that called me.
Okay. Was that at 7:20 a.m.?
No, 7:20 a.m. is when I got to my vehicle because I got off of work at 7. My shift ended at 7. By the time I found out to make sure that I didn't have to stay over or anything, then I got to my truck about 7:20, and they had texted me and tried to call me on my cell phone at around 6:20.
And you found out about it at 7:20, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Mr. Rogers, did he go missing on a school day?
From my understanding, she put him to bed Sunday night, and yes, Monday morning he's missing.
Now, this is more interesting. Nancy says, I'm trying to understand that morning. Your ex calls about 7:20. Would that have been in a school day? And he corrects her that it wasn't his ex that called. So he doesn't answer the question, but he is making a correction, because if he answered the question, then potentially he would be answering a question that's based on falseness. No, it was her husband that called me. Nancy says, okay, was that at 7:20 a.m.? And he says no. So it's a yes-no question, and he answers with no. And then he goes on to tell events of how this all transpired. 7:20 a.m. is when I got to my vehicle because I got off work at 7. My shift ended at 7. By the time I found out to make sure that I didn't have to stay over or anything, then I got to my truck about 7:20, and they had texted me and tried to call me on my cell phone at around 6:20. So this is really linear in the telling of it. He tells that 7:20 was when he finished when he got to his vehicle, and he goes back to explain why that is. I get off work at 7, my shift ends at 7, I have to hang around a bit to make sure that I don't have to stay over to do an extended shift. Got to my truck and realised that I had phone calls from previously that I didn't know about before. They tried to call me at around 6:20. It's very linear in telling, and once more, it's really consistent timing with everything that he said before. Nancy says, and you found out about it at 7:20, is that correct? He says, yes, ma'am. Wow, that's so straightforward. Okay, Mr. Rogers, did he go missing on a school day? And this answer is less straightforward. He says, from my understanding, she put him to bed Sunday night, and yes, Monday morning he's missing. So, okay, Mr. Rogers, did he go missing on a school day? Number one, that's a yes/no question. Yes, he did. It was Monday. No, he didn't. It was Sunday. However you want to phrase it. Yes is the correct answer to this. Okay, Mr. Rogers, did he go missing on a school day? Yes, ma'am. It was Monday. He could have said, but he doesn't. He gives a long answer to a very easy question. Did he go missing on a school day? From my understanding, she put him to bed Sunday night, and yes, Monday morning, he's missing. Why does he bring Sunday night into it as well? Does he know more, or is he like us? Maybe just like me, suspects that something happened on that Sunday night that caused Sebastian to go missing. Does he have questions about what happened on that Sunday night? Because when he's asked, when did Sebastian go missing, the first thing that he mentions is the Sunday night, and then Monday morning he's missing. It's a long answer to a very easy question. Even more interesting is the fact that once more, he's not taking Chris and Katie's word as gospel and passing it on as fact. He's qualifying it. So when did Sebastian go missing? He's not saying this is when it happened. He's telling us what his understanding is of it. From my understanding, she put him to bed Sunday night, and yes, Monday morning, he's missing. So we do have a yes in there for did he go missing on a school day, but for some reason he's telling us that what he's been told, Sebastian was put to bed on Sunday night, and then on the Monday morning he's missing. I think he has questions about what happened on the Sunday night too. More from Nancy now.
Seth, when was the last time you can verify that he was alive and well?
When I talked to him on Thursday.
Simple question, simple answer. When was the last time you can verify that he was alive and well? When I talked to him on Thursday. Such a clean, clear answer. Nothing extra, no attempt to convince us of anything, no attempt to persuade us of anything there. A very straightforward, very direct answer.
Seth Rogers, have you been asked to take a polygraph?
No.
Would you be willing to take a polygraph?
I volunteered.
What did you think of that? Seth Rogers, have you been asked to take a polygraph? No. Would you be willing to take a polygraph? I volunteered. These are yes, no questions. Both of them can be answered with yes or no. Seth Rogers, have you been asked to take a polygraph? No. Straightforward, very believable type of answer. Would you be willing to take a polygraph? And he doesn't say, yes, I would, or no, I wouldn't. He says, I volunteered. So I'm interested there. Would he be willing to take a polygraph? He's volunteered to do it in his own words, but he didn't say yes straight away. He just said, I volunteered. He's a need to persuade us that not just he would be willing to take a polygraph, he was in front of this and has volunteered to take a polygraph. I don't know. Very interesting. I don't know why he didn't just say yes there. So far, he's been really straightforward. He's directly answered most of the questions that he's been asked. He hasn't gone extra on a lot of things, but on the polygraph question, he claims, I volunteered. What do you think so far? Let me know in the comments. And don't forget, if you want more episodes like this, the subscribe or follow button is a great friend to you because it means you get more episodes as soon as they are released. If you want to go early, you can become a member of the YouTube channel or subscribe on Spotify. You'll find the links in the show description if you want to do that. Not only did you get early access to this content, you get exclusive members or subscribers only episodes from Never a Truer Word. If none of that floats your boat, the like button will. You're getting this for absolutely nothing, so the like button is a small price to pay to help this get out to more people. And the most important thing on all the content is the comments that you give, whether they are on this platform if you can, or whether you get in touch on social media. Again, all the links are in the description for this show. Your comments on this would be really appreciated. And if you know people who are interested in Sebastian Rogers and his case, please share this with them using the share button. It really helps get the word out on the content that we do here. Here's some more of Nancy talking to Seth Rogers.
I know he was alive and well, say, at 3:30 on Friday afternoon. Who saw him, other than the parents, from that afternoon, 3:30-ish, till we find out he's missing on Monday morning?
I don't know who else.
Seth. So I don't have
know.
any proof of life between Friday afternoon and Monday morning?
I haven't been informed of anything. My only proof of life would be Katie, his mom.
Nancy asks, I know he was alive and well, say, at 3:30 on Friday afternoon. Who saw him other than the parents from that afternoon? 3:30-ish till we find out he's missing on Monday morning. And there's a huge, huge long pause while he thinks about his answer to this question. So he doesn't have a prepared answer. He doesn't just jump in by saying things and, that maybe don't even directly reference the question. He just pauses, thinks, what is it I'm going to say? And he says, I don't know who else. Now, truthful people have not one problem saying the phrase, I don't know. You'll find that in so many truthful people. They don't mind saying, I don't know this. And that's what Seth does here. He says, I don't know. Liars, deceivers, people that are hiding something feel a need to fill a gap. So rather than saying, I don't know, they will give you an answer that infers something or says something because they hate I don't know. It's almost like a failure of the lie, isn't it? Or a failure of the deception. If you have to say, I don't know, because we do think maybe it lacks confidence, maybe it lacks certainty. Well, he does lack certainty because he doesn't know and he's not afraid to say, I don't know. Nancy says, so I don't have any proof of between Friday afternoon and Monday morning. And he says, I haven't been informed of anything. My only proof would be from Katie, his mum. So we've got that concept again of I haven't been informed of anything. So like, does he feel he's been kept in the dark? Does he feel that people should be talking to him more? Or is it that he feels that things are being hidden from him? That's the feeling I got when I analysed the words of Chris and Katie, that they were hiding things, they were concealing things, they weren't telling the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. And I wonder if that's what Seth has picked up on, whether he's noticed holes in the story or whether he just has this sixth sense that this doesn't all ring true. But certainly, once more, he is not able to talk with certainty and even say he believes the things that Chris and Katie are saying. He says, I haven't been informed of anything. My only proof would be from Katie, his mom. Interestingly, not Chris brought into this, just Katie, his mom. So I think he's got real questions about what happened.
Could you tell me the level of the severity of his autism?
He's very intelligent. He's very smart. He just lacks social skills and reading of people's body language. He likes things to be in a routine. He likes to control his environment.
So this is Seth talking about the autism of Sebastian. He's asked, could you tell me the level of severity of his autism? And he says he's very intelligent. He's very smart. He just lacks social skills and the reading of people's body language. He likes to be in a routine. He likes to control his environment. First thing here I've got is that everything is in present tense. He's very intelligent. He's very smart. Lacks social skills. Likes things to be in a routine, likes to control his environment. So the answer there is in the present tense. 3 weeks after Sebastian went missing, Seth is talking about him in the present tense. A very good, very reassuring sign. And when he's asked about the severity of his autism, he goes to the positives of autism, or Sebastian's autism. He's very intelligent. He's very smart. He talks about Sebastian's autism, in the benefits that autism brings to Sebastian's life. He's very intelligent. He's very smart. Then he goes to a negative. He lacks social skills in the reading of people's body language. It's fair enough. It's just truthful and honest. And then he talks about some more of the way that the autism shows up through Sebastian. He likes things to be in a routine and he likes to control his environment. So instead of seeing these as a negative, which we could, everything's got to be a routine with him, otherwise he's not happy. And if he can't control his environment, then he gets really grumpy or upset. No, he talks about it through knowing the way that Sebastian likes to be in. That suggests he's empathetic with Sebastian. He knows what Sebastian likes. He knows the way Sebastian likes things. And if we get things that we like, we get happy. So when he's asked about Sebastian's autism, he talks in very positive terms about him being intelligent and smart, and then talks about what Sebastian likes. I think this is someone who liked to make Sebastian happy by working with him so that things were in the routine, so the environment was able to be controlled by Sebastian, so that Sebastian was happy and settled. Compare that answer that Seth has given there with Katie and Chris when they were asked a very similar question. As far as his way of thinking of things and maybe how determined he was about certain things or his mindset, Katie says Chris said he's got a stubborn mindset. If he believes it's this, Katie, he gets on a one-man track and he's just on it and he's all about it. Then Chris says, but I mean, he's very smart. He can play chess. He can beat adults in chess. He loves playing games. So the first thing that they went to was Sebastian's stubbornness and the fact that he can get on a one-way track of thinking and it's very hard to get him out of it. So they started with perceived negatives of Sebastian's behavior and then brought in the positives of he's very smart. But it's a very, very different way of talking about the autism. You'll notice as well between Chris and Katie, slightly different. Katie says he loves playing games. So she does talk about what makes Sebastian happy. He loves playing games. Chris talks about his ability. He can play chess. Not he loves to play chess or he really likes playing chess or he enjoys playing chess. He can play chess. So he talks about the ability that he has. It's a very different answer from Katie and Chris talking about Sebastian's autism than the one that we got from Seth. And now Nancy has a final question.
What are your final thoughts?
I'm just looking for my son. I want him to come home. I need people to look at his picture. Keep your eyes up and keep your head up. If you see him, please call 911. I need my son back.
Do you think he left that home alone?
I have no idea what to think. It's not like him.
Seth, am I missing anything?
I'm missing something. This puzzle just isn't making sense. There's missing pieces to it. There's
There
just
really
missing
are.
pieces.
You keep saying that a piece of the puzzle is missing. Something is missing. It doesn't add up. What do you mean by that?
It doesn't add up. For him to break routine and to leave the house with no shoes, no socks on, no coat, something just doesn't make sense.
Nancy says, what are your final thoughts? And that final thoughts signals to Seth, this is the last thing I'm going to ask you. Also, what are your final thoughts? But you can't go extra there. So you can just get it all out. And the first thing he says, I'm looking for my son and I want him to come home. That's his priority. I'm looking for my son and I want him to come home. He does say, I'm just looking for my son. So he's asked what your final thoughts are. And he says, I'm just looking for my son. Just is an interesting word. Just is used to focus and narrow our focus. So this is the only thing I'm doing is looking for my son and I want him to come home. But quite often there is more going on than the just. And just is used to direct our attention away from some other things. So what else is in his final thoughts? I think this will come out as he talks some more. He's asked, do you think he left that home alone? He says, I have no idea what to think. It's not like him. Now, no idea is not the same as don't know. Don't know is really reliable. I don't know something. No idea is quite often deceptive. And by that, I mean that we all have an idea. Yeah, we all have an idea. So you may say, I've no idea what's happened to Sebastian. You yourself, you've followed the story. You may say, I've no idea. Actually, you have more than one idea. There's all sorts of possibilities floating around in your mind. What that means is there's not one thing that you want to get out there. There's not one thing that you want to talk about. I have no idea what to think. Again, this suggests to me that he has some ideas. There is some thoughts going around in his head that he's not being told the truth or things have been kept from him. He does say, in response to the question, do you think he left that home alone? It's not like him. Now, when something's not like him, that doesn't mean they've never done it before or there's no possibility of it happening. It's just not like him. Like, he's made some typos in that document. It's not like him. He's never made a typo before. It's just unusual. So I do wonder if Sebastian has shown any signs of wanting to get away from home before. Nancy asks, Seth, am I missing anything? And Seth says, I'm missing something. The puzzle just isn't making sense. There's missing pieces to it. There's just missing pieces. In that very short answer, he says the word missing 3 times. Now, the word missing was introduced by Nancy in the question, so I'm not saying there's anything suspicious about this. Also, he is the father of a missing boy at the time he's talking. The boy has been missing for 3 weeks, so the missing things is going to be really high up in his priority. But he's not just missing something, the puzzle just isn't making sense. And I think again that he knows something is going on or feels that he hasn't been told anything. And if he was, the puzzle would make sense. Nancy pushes him on this. You keep saying that a piece of the puzzle is missing. Something is missing. It doesn't add up. What do you mean by that? His reply is something, it doesn't add up. For him to break routine and to leave the house with no shoes, no socks on, no coat, something just doesn't make sense. So once more, we've got this sense from him in his words, it doesn't add up. Now, when do you use the phrase, it doesn't add up? Quite often when you've heard someone talking, isn't it? Or you've watched an interview with someone on a documentary or something like that, or you've heard a story from one of your kids and you're going, it doesn't add up. So I think, again, this is him feeling that he's not been told the full truth. He says something just doesn't make sense. Once more, it's not a complete mystery. It's the fact that there is something, and he keeps talking about it doesn't add up and something doesn't make sense. I think he's got a real feeling that he's not being informed of everything, that there's something missing from what he has been told. So that is Seth's words at the beginning. I said, watch for repeated words and ideas. So did you spot any? The ones I spotted were, my son is missing, I need my son back, and also about calling 911. I saw that a few times in the interview. Those were the words and ideas that I spotted missing, as well as being informed of things and not wanting to pass those on as factually true, but wanting to say, this is what I've been told, so it's a qualified truth. In tenses, apart from one or two little tense things that were interesting, reliably in the present tense, when talking about Sebastian, especially when talking about his autism, it was all about who Sebastian is. Nothing was about who Sebastian was. And hidden truths, again, I think for me, it was the fact that he just talks about what he's been informed of and where his understanding of events comes from, which is Chris and Katie's words. I think that is something that is very highly prevalent for him. So in conclusion, Seth, his answers to the questions are simple. Very little extra, and what is extra is not storytelling or alibi building or direction shifting in a way that we wouldn't want it to go. Consistent, his telling of the story is consistent with no contradictions in them or anything that I can see like that, and it's very direct. He's asked a question and he answers the question. He listens to what he's been asked and provides the information that he's been asked to provide. All that indicates he's telling the truth and he is not hiding things, especially events. Apart from the lie detector question, got a question mark over that for some reason, that he didn't just say, yes, I take a lie detector, but he says, I volunteered. And volunteered in the past tense, not I'm volunteering, or I would volunteer in the future. It's I volunteered in the past tense. There's something about the lie detector question that makes me wonder what is going on, but let me not labour that because he was so simple, consistent, direct, which indicates that at that point, 3 weeks after Sebastian went missing, he was very truthful in that interview with Nancy Grace. Your thoughts in the comments or get in touch on social media. I'd love to hear what you think about Seth. And I know there's a whole load more that's gone on around him, but I'm only looking at that interview and that's what I see. If you know people interested in Sebastian or interested in maybe learning more about what's happened to him, then please share this or how people speak truthfully when one of their children is missing. I think this is a perfect example of this. The share button would be mega helpful there. The like button is great too. That means that this gets further and wider. You do not know how much power you have with that like button, so just whack it. Go on. Yes, thank you. And if you want more episodes like this when they arrive, then the subscribe or follow buttons will be your friend. NeverATruerWord.com is the website. There you will find more videos. You can sign up for the monthly newsletter, get in touch on social media. All the socials are listed on NeverATruerWord.com. And there's more podcasts as well. And we'll see you soon for something new from Never a Truer Word.